Imagine a place so mysterious it defies logic. A spot on the map shrouded in dark legends and terrifying rumors. This is the scenery of the island that, they say, eats its visitors. But is this just a fable exaggerated over time? Or is there something real hidden beneath the veil of the unknown? As science struggles to explain, the stories continue to multiply, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. You are about to embark on a journey where danger and curiosity go hand in hand. If you think you've seen it all, get ready, because what you'll discover could completely change your view of what is true and what is legend. Now click like and subscribe to the channel. It will take a second. Human beings have always been attracted to what they cannot explain. There is something almost irresistible about the unknown, something that ignites the fire of curiosity and the desire for answers. History is full of mysteries that captivate us, like an enigma that calls us to solve it. And among these stories is the legend of a distant island, shrouded in dark rumors and frightening reports. An island that, they say, devours those who dare challenge its domain. Was this a simple country curiosity, a story inflated by time, or was there a kernel of truth in this mystery? As the legends spread, fear grows, fueled by generations who have passed these stories down. It's not just the waves that crash onto the shores of this island, but also the whispers of unexplained disappearances and tragedies that haunt the brave. What attracted so many explorers to this cursed place? What makes someone defy danger in search of answers to something that no one can explain? Perhaps curiosity about exotic countries is a more powerful force than the instinct for self-preservation. And so, the island comes to life in our imagination, a place that combines the treacherous beauty of nature with a mysterious force that defies understanding. It's a place where the sky and the sea seem to conspire to hide secrets that no one should know. But it is precisely this veil of mystery that attracts so many. The island becomes more than a dot on the map. It becomes an embodiment of all our fears and desires, the physical manifestation of the unknown. An invitation, perhaps, to the end of a journey of no return. This island is more than a geographic destination. It is a symbol of the stories we tell and the dangers we face in the pursuit of knowledge. And, like other country curiosities, the line between reality and legend begins to blur. After all, how can we distinguish reality from myth when both are so intertwined? It is this doubt that moves us, that makes us move forward and try to understand what really hides behind the legends. The fascination with the unknown always pushes us forward, even when the answer may be terrifying. The first explorers who approached the island carried in their memories warnings recorded amid storms and turbulent seas. They were men of the sea, accustomed to the uncertainties of the waters, but who, faced with that island, faced something far beyond what they expected. Old reports tell of boats that left in search of new lands and never returned. Its crew members disappeared as if they had never existed, and this only increased the mystery that surrounded that piece of land. Stories of disappearances began to echo among ports and coastal villages, fueling fear. Experienced captains who had survived countless dangers on the high seas warned about the risk of venturing in that direction. There is no return, they said, with their eyes marked by the terror of something they themselves could barely explain. Historical documents describe, with frightening precision, the disappearances of entire ships, erased from existence as if the island itself had swallowed them. Curiosity about unknown countries and territories often led adventurers to ignore these warnings. Even with all the warnings, the bravest, or foolish, continued to defy the seas, attracted by the unknown. But each new expedition that set out towards that island seemed to seal its own fate. The returning sailors, few, it is true, spoke in whispers about the echoes they heard in the silent nights, sounds that did not belong to the sea or the wind, but that seemed to come from the land itself, as if the island were alive. These reports only reinforced the belief that that place held something beyond human understanding. Curiosity about that land of legends and mysteries continued to attract new expeditions, but each new report made the island even more feared. The sea that surrounded it became a cemetery of dreams and hopes, and the mystery surrounding the island grew. Those who dared to approach soon realized that the navigators' warnings were not just stories to scare the unsuspecting. But what else could be hidden beyond these warnings? The few who dared to return from the island spoke of something disturbing. Echoes that seemed to vibrate in the air, like distant voices calling, whispering lost secrets. They were not sounds that belonged to nature, nor to the sea, nor to the wind. These echoes came from the land itself, as if the island was trying to communicate in a primal and frightening way. It was a sensation impossible to describe, but it left a deep mark on whoever experienced it. Many who heard these echoes were never the same again. For the most skeptical, the sounds were just reflections of the wind and rocks, a natural acoustic phenomenon that fear amplified. But those who lived through this experience swore it was something more. There was something about the way the sounds carried, as if the very stones of the island whispered ancient stories from a time long before the first navigators. This phenomenon, they say, was strongest at night, when the darkness seemed to amplify the terror. Curiosity about countries that hide secrets like this only grew, but the truth continued to escape those who tried to decipher these echoes. Some reports even described the feeling of being watched by the island itself. The echoes were not just sounds, they were sensations that touched the soul. Certain explorers claimed that, when they approached certain areas, the sound became stronger, more insistent, like a call, or perhaps a warning to stay away. It's strange to think of a place that seems to want to get rid of its visitors, as if the soil itself repels any attempt at colonization or understanding. This mystery only increased the fascination of those seeking answers. But the question remains, what were these sounds really? Fear can alter perception, distort reality. However, if so many heard the same echoes, could there be an explanation other than fear? What if the island really was alive, as many believed? Meanwhile, the strange sounds continue to echo, provoking even more questions than answers. After all, what was hidden in the depths of that mysterious land? The island itself seemed to be a natural trap. The weather, unpredictable and treacherous, acted like a fierce guardian, protecting its secrets. Sudden winds and storms appeared out of nowhere, catching even the most experienced sailors off guard. The dense fogs, which seemed to swallow everything around them, created a feeling of complete isolation, as if the world beyond the island was disappearing. The island's nature was not just hostile, it was alive and challenging, shaped to ward off those who tried to unravel its mysteries. The few who managed to survive the storms spoke of a landscape that seemed to change with the island's mood. A sunny day quickly gave way to a thick and ominous fog, where you could barely see a foot ahead. It was as if the island chose when to reveal its dangers, always keeping visitors on alert, ready for the next strike. Nature seemed to be the first layer of defense for a place that did not want to be discovered. For many, no country's curiosity would be worth it in the face of such adversity. There are reports that native animals, few and far between, also contributed to the feeling of discomfort. The absolute silence was interrupted by screams and noises that did not belong to known creatures, but that seemed to echo in the air, amplifying the terror of being in that environment. The dense, almost suffocating vegetation turned each step into a monumental effort. It was not just the climate, but the entire ecosystem of the island that seemed to fight against the human presence, as if nature itself wanted to protect the deepest secrets of that place. This untamed nature only added to the feeling that the island was no ordinary place. It was as if she herself decided who could come and go, who would be spared, and who would be devoured by her mysteries. The climate was not a simple obstacle to be overcome, but a clear warning so that no one dared challenge that territory. But still, the question persisted. What was on the island that was worth so much danger? And what else, besides the weather, was awaiting those who dared to advance? Over the centuries, the populations living near the island passed down stories full of fear and reverence from generation to generation. For them, the island was not just a distant geographic location, but an entity with a mind of its own. Legends spoke of ancient spirits that inhabited those lands, of forgotten gods who protected their domains with fury. The people feared the island as if it were alive, and no one dared to approach it. Even the bravest fishermen kept their distance, preferring to miss a good day of fishing rather than risk their lives. These stories, full of mystery, helped to perpetuate the aura of danger that surrounded the island. The elders told of visitors who never returned, absorbed by the land itself, carried away by the spirits that lived there. For the locals, the island was a sacred but also cursed place. She represented the balance between life and death, a threshold that no one should cross. There was also the myth that those who dared defy the island were not only physically consumed, but their souls were also imprisoned, condemned to wander the deserted beaches forever. These ancient legends reflected the way fear shapes perceptions of a place. The island's isolation, combined with unexplained disappearances, further fueled the popular imagination. For locals, simply mentioning the island in conversation was seen as bad luck, something that could attract unwanted attention from guardian spirits. And so, by word of mouth, the stories continued to spread, gaining new details and intensifying the terror. The curiosity about remote countries and lands, usually so enchanting, turned into dread when the subject was this island. Yet even with all the fear and reverence, the island continued to attract those seeking answers. Some believed that the legends were just exaggerated stories to keep the curious at bay. Others saw in them fragments of truth, clues to a mystery far greater than any legend could describe. But after all, what could be scarier than the human imagination itself? And what else could be hidden in the depths of these stories that have stood the test of time? Over the years, reports of unexplained disappearances began to pile up like a heavy burden on the island. Each new expedition that set out in search of answers seemed to seal its fate. Some disappeared without a trace, as if they had never existed. Others left behind only fragments, an empty boat, a fire still burning, but no sign of life. The island gained a reputation for devouring those who dared challenge its secrets. For those who stayed, fear and curiosity about countries like this grew, but always with a grim warning: no one returns the same. The local government, pressured by the families of the missing, tried to organize investigations. But these searches rarely resulted in anything concrete. Groups sent to the island returned disoriented, many of them swearing that the island changed as they went, as if it was playing with them. The advanced technology seemed useless, unable to decipher what was happening. The most serious investigations ended up being abandoned, and the cases were filed as unsolved disappearances. It was as if the island itself refused to reveal its mysteries. Families, desperate for answers, turned their attention to explanations that went beyond common understanding. What else could explain so many disappearances without leaving a trace? Some believed that the missing were swallowed up by a supernatural force, as if the island were some kind of portal to another world. Others saw these tragedies as a punishment from the ancient spirits who, according to legends, still watched over the place. No country's curiosity could compete with the emptiness of not knowing the fate of those who never returned. These disappearances only fueled the aura of mystery surrounding the island. Each new loss brought more questions than answers, and the cycle of terror seemed endless. Still, the expeditions continued, as if something irresistible attracted the brave, or perhaps the foolish, to challenge the unknown. But with each lost expedition, the island seemed to reaffirm its position. It was no place for the common man. And then the question arises, what does the island hold so much that no one can discover? Among the many legends surrounding the island, one of the most terrifying is the belief that it devours its visitors. Literally. The region's ancient inhabitants spoke of the disappearance of men and women, not just swallowed up by the island's mystery, but consumed by it in a brutal way. Grim testimonies from local residents claim to have seen mutilated bodies as if the earth itself had digested them. This is one of the scariest stories, and one that seems to resonate with a primal fear. The fear of being devoured by something larger and uncontrollable. The origin of this belief is shrouded in a veil of horror. Some believe that the island, being a sacred place for ancient spirits, requires human sacrifices to maintain its power. Others suggest that there are more sinister forces lurking in the shadows, ready to attack those who dare invade their territory. Be that as it may, the fact is that this idea that the island eats its visitors has gained strength over the years, increasing the morbid fascination of those who are attracted by unusual and dark country curiosities. There are also those who compare the island to other cursed places in the world, where danger seems to lurk around every corner, waiting to engulf the unsuspecting. This parallel reinforces the idea that certain lands do not want to be discovered. There are places in the world that should remain mysterious, and Cannibal Island seems to be the perfect example of this. However, what many wonder is, are these stories exaggerations of a fertile imagination? Or is there something truth behind these reports? Could the island be a living, hungry entity that feeds on those who challenge it? The mystery of the island cannibalizes the minds of everyone who hears these stories. Fear mixes with curiosity, and many wonder how far the truth can reach. Were the disappearances simply coincidences, or was there a supernatural force, something that goes beyond our understanding? While these questions persist, the legend continues to grow, and the mystery seems to get further and further away from a resolution. But what really happens to those who don't return? Over the years, the island has attracted not only adventurers and explorers, but also scientists and researchers who have become obsessed with discovering its secrets. Some came hoping to find a scientific explanation for the disappearances and strange phenomena. They brought advanced equipment, prepared to map the terrain, study weather conditions, and analyze every detail. However, what they found was something that science could not explain. Reports of equipment failing, compasses spinning out of control, and radio signals mysteriously disappearing have made the island even more enigmatic. Many of these researchers went on to dedicate their lives to deciphering the mystery, but few managed to move forward. Theories ranged from geographic anomalies to supernatural phenomena, and with each new expedition, more questions arose. Some believed that the island was located on a tectonic fault, generating magnetic fields that interfered with equipment. Others suggested that there was something deeper, a hidden presence that seemed to manipulate reality itself around visitors. Curiosity about countries and their mysterious lands drove these scientists, but the answer always seemed out of reach. Even with the advancement of technology, attempts to explore the island repeatedly failed. The terrain seemed to change, the weather behaved unpredictably, and signs of any previous expeditions disappeared without a trace. What seemed like a simple scientific phenomenon turned into something much more personal. Many of the researchers returned with shaken minds. Some even gave up their careers, as if the island had taken something from them. It was as if the investigation itself became a risk for those who dared face the mystery. These obsessive researchers have become part of the legend. Their stories, of failure after failure, only increased the fascination surrounding the island. What could be so well hidden that not even science, with all its technology and knowledge, could unveil it? Each new expedition seemed to get lost in the same cycle of mystery, leaving only more doubts in the air. With each failed attempt, the island laughed silently, keeping its secrets away from the prying eyes of humanity. Among the many reports of disappearances on the island, one case in particular stood out, gaining worldwide fame. It was the disappearance of an entire expedition, made up of renowned scientists and explorers, that shook the collective imagination. The group, made up of experts from various fields, was determined to solve the island's mystery once and for all. Equipped with the highest technology of the time, they left confident that they would return with definitive answers. However, what happened was an even greater mystery. No one ever saw them again. The details of this expedition are as frightening as they are intriguing. They were a carefully selected team of 10 people with years of experience in extreme conditions. Before leaving, they sent optimistic reports and detailed diaries. However, as they approached the island, communications began to fail. The last few transmissions were confusing, full of static and unintelligible words, and then absolute silence. Rescue teams were sent soon after, but all they found was the abandoned camp, with all belongings intact, as if the explorers had simply evaporated. The disappearance of this famous group was widely covered in the media at the time. Newspaper headlines around the world speculated about the scientists' tragic fate. The public was fascinated and terrified at the same time. Theories ranged from alien abduction to attacks by mysterious creatures. Nothing explained how such a well-prepared group could disappear without leaving a trace. This event profoundly marked the island's history, solidifying its reputation as a place where no one was safe. Curiosity about mysterious countries and places grew, but always with a dark and frightening tone. Over time, the disappearance of this group became something of a modern myth. Reports from family members who never had answers only increased the weight of the mystery. Experts who tried to investigate the case further also came up against a wall of silence, as if the island itself had erased all evidence. And so, the question remains: what really happened to that group of explorers? The answer, like the island, seems to be hidden beyond the reach of reason. Over the years, many scientists have attempted to offer rational explanations for the island's strange phenomena. Among the most accepted theories was the idea that the region's unpredictable climate and magnetic fields were responsible for the disappearances and equipment failures. Geological anomalies, such as a tectonic fault or deposits of rare minerals, could be creating magnetic disturbances that affect compasses and radio communication. It was a plausible explanation, but never enough to completely erase the mystery that hung over the place. Other scientists suggested that the mysterious sounds and echoes that so many had reported were the result of unique geological formations. Underground caves and unusual rock formations could amplify natural noises, creating the illusion that the island itself was alive. This type of explanation helped to reassure some, but for those who had lived these experiences up close, no scientific theory seemed capable of explaining the paralyzing fear they felt when hearing the whispers from the island. Curiosity about countries with such unusual phenomena continued to fuel these investigations. Even with all these attempts at explanation, miscommunications and untraceable disappearances continued to defy logic. Some more daring theories suggested that the island could be located on a magnetic vortex, similar to the famous Bermuda Triangle, where the laws of physics seem to behave differently. Although these theories were widely discredited by the scientific community, they never ceased to fascinate the public. After all, would the island be a place where the forces of nature simply escape our understanding? While rational explanations offer some comfort, they have never completely resolved the island's enigma. For every scientific theory presented, there seemed to be an exception or an unexplained phenomenon that overturned logic. And so, the mystery continued to grow, reinforcing the idea that the island held secrets that modern science was not yet able to unravel. But would we ever actually be able to understand what really happens in this place? In addition to scientific explanations, there are those who believe that the island goes far beyond what our senses can perceive. According to these theories, the island is not just an inhospitable piece of land, but a living, conscious entity that chooses its targets and acts according to its own will. Reports of mysterious sounds, unexplained disappearances, and sudden changes in the weather are, for those who defend this view, clear signs that the island is alive, acting like a predator that hunts its victims in an intelligent and strategic way. Local legends have long supported this idea, with stories of ancient spirits who protect the island and punish those who dare disrespect its territory. For residents of the region, this is an indisputable truth. The island is a being with a presence and will of its own, which manifests itself in subtle but powerful ways. Visitors, upon crossing the invisible line that separates sea from land, become prey to a force beyond the natural, unable to escape their fate. It's a terrifying but also fascinating thought, one that sparks curiosity about countries and places steeped in mystery. This supernatural view of the island is also reinforced by reports of apparitions and events that defy any rational explanation. Some explorers claim to have seen shadowy figures in the distance, watching them from the trees, while others report intense feelings of being followed or monitored. What many call the presence of the island is described as an overwhelming feeling that something is always nearby, lurking, waiting for the right moment to act. The island in this context is not only alive, but it is an otherworldly force, impossible to understand. The question that remains is, to what extent are these stories figments of the imagination? Or is there something true in them? The supernatural often emerges as an explanation when logic fails, and in the case of this island, logic fails everywhere. What really exists behind this feeling of life that so many describe? While these questions remain unanswered, the island continues to inspire awe and respect, keeping its truths closely guarded. And if the island really is alive, who would dare challenge it? The few survivors who managed to return from expeditions to the island brought with them more than just haunting memories. They carried in their eyes the weight of what they had witnessed, something that words could barely describe. Their reports, although varied, had one thing in common: the feeling of being hunted. For many, it wasn't just the treacherous terrain or unpredictable weather that made survival difficult. It was the island itself that seemed to conspire against them, altering the environment in subtle but devastating ways, as if it had a mind of its own. These survivors spoke of sleepless nights, where the silence was interrupted by noises they could not identify. Some reported seeing shadows moving among the trees, quick and stealthy, like lurking predators. Others described an overwhelming feeling of disorientation, where even the most experienced navigators and explorers completely lost their sense of direction. To them, it was as if the island was purposely pushing them away, playing on their fears. Curiosity about countries and places like this soon turned into a real nightmare. The trauma of these fatal expeditions was not limited to the time spent on the island. Many survivors have spent their entire lives trying to come to terms with what they experienced, unable to forget the horrors they faced. Some were never able to talk about what happened, sinking into a heavy, disturbing silence. Those who dared to tell their stories were met with skepticism, but for them, the memories were very real. For each expedition that was lost, there remained only the testimony of the few who returned, bringing with them a fear that would never leave them. These stories, often dismissed as exaggerations or delusions caused by stress, only reinforced the island's mystery. After all, how could so many people have had such similar experiences, and yet there was no concrete explanation? The survivors' testimony became yet another layer of a mystery that seemed impossible to solve. And with each new report, the question remained: how many more would have to disappear before someone finally unlocked the island's secret? In addition to the mysteries that the island holds on its surface, there is also an aura of uncertainty about what hides beneath the waters that surround it. Many divers who dared to explore the depths near the island reported sightings of submerged structures that did not appear to be the work of nature. Some speak of ancient ruins, similar to those of lost civilizations, covered in coral and algae, but still strangely intact. Others describe underwater caves so vast that they would seem to contain secrets dating back to time immemorial. The waters surrounding the island are dangerous in themselves, with treacherous currents and often reduced visibility. However, that hasn't stopped underwater explorers from trying to discover what lies beneath the sea. Some returned with stories of sea creatures that had never been recorded by science, while others reported feeling a strange presence, as if they were being observed even underwater. Curiosity about countries and their submerged mysteries continued to instigate these explorers, but the risk seemed greater than the answers. There are those who suggest that the key to unlocking the island's enigma may be hidden in the depths. Perhaps the secrets of land and sea are intertwined in ways we don't yet understand. The theory that the island was once home to a lost civilization gains strength with each new underwater expedition that returns with intriguing evidence. These submerged ruins could tell a story much older than the first navigators who approached the island. A story that, for some reason, was erased from time and memory. But with the increasing danger of the waters and the limited number of explorers who risk returning, the truth about what lies beneath the island remains hidden. For every mystery that emerges from the surface, there seems to be another even deeper in the dark waters. And so, the island's mysteries extend not only over land, but also under the sea, where anyone who dares to dive ends up coming across more questions than answers. The island not only haunts those who visit, but seems to follow those who dare leave. There is a dark pattern that connects all who have braved the island, a string of bad luck and tragedy that befalls them soon after their expeditions. Survivors' accounts are not limited to the experiences they had during their stay. Many speak of a kind of curse that followed them afterwards, affecting their lives in devastating ways. Unexplained illnesses, freak accidents, personal losses. It seemed like the island didn't allow anyone to escape unscathed. Many explorers who returned from the island, even if physically intact, ended up facing personal disasters soon after. Some lost their families tragically, while others saw their careers plummet inexplicably. It is as if the island exerts a kind of belated revenge, waiting for the right moment to take its toll. There are so many stories that, for the most superstitious, the idea of a curse seems to make sense. The very act of exploring the island has consequences, even if they take time to manifest themselves. Those who believe in the curse also suggest that it may be linked to the ancient spirits who, according to local legends, protect the island. Perhaps it is the price for invading sacred territory, a warning that no one else comes near. Curiosity about forbidden countries and their lands has always existed, but the consequences for those who challenged these places were often fatal. The ancients said that certain lands should not be touched, and that those who did so would bring misfortune not only to themselves, but to everyone around them. But is this curse real, or is it just a sequence of tragic coincidences? The fact is that many of those who dared to return from the island had to deal with consequences far beyond what they could have predicted. And, with each new report, the legend of the curse only grew. The question that remains in the air is, to what extent would someone be willing to risk their own life and sanity in search of the secrets that the island hides? At a given moment in the island's history, the attention of military forces was drawn to the location. Rumors began to circulate that governments and secret organizations had become involved in investigations on the island, seeking to understand the phenomena occurring there. Troops were dispatched, sophisticated equipment was assembled, and satellites were used to map the area. But strangely, no concrete information was ever revealed to the public. Whatever the military operations found, it was carefully hidden, further fueling the fascination and fear surrounding the mystery. Conspiracy theories were quick to emerge. Some believe the island holds secrets that are of strategic interest to powerful governments, such as an energy source or a site for secret experiments. Others suggest that the island may be a base for extraterrestrial activity, and that military forces were trying to cover up this discovery. Be that as it may, the secrecy surrounding these operations only reinforced the aura of danger and mystery that surrounds the island. Curiosity about countries that harbor military secrets grew, and more questions arose without answers. Confidential documents, leaked by anonymous sources, indicate that there have been a series of failed missions on the island where highly trained soldiers have disappeared without explanation. These files describe technological failures, abnormal equipment behavior, and the complete loss of contact with field teams. Operations were quickly shut down, and any mention of the island was erased from official records. This stance of absolute silence only raised more suspicions about what is really going on there. What did the military forces find on the island that caused them to end their operations so abruptly? Are the island's secrets so dangerous that not even the most powerful governments in the world can deal with them? The mystery remains, and while theories proliferate, the truth remains hidden beneath layers of secrets, leaving everyone wondering, will we ever know what really happened? Among the many theories surrounding the island, one of the most intriguing and controversial involves the possibility that it is a point of contact with extraterrestrial forces. Sightings of strange lights in the sky, reports of unidentified flying objects, and unexplained phenomena reinforce this idea. For many, the island would be a portal, a place of convergence where advanced civilizations from other worlds maintain a hidden presence. These reports, although controversial, sparked curiosity about what else could be happening in this place beyond human understanding. Those who support the alien theory point to the many disappearances as proof that something far beyond our understanding is at play. Were these abductions orchestrated by beings from other worlds? Were these visitors studying humanity, using the island as an isolated laboratory for their experiments? For those who believe this, equipment failures, magnetic anomalies, and even strange sounds coming from Earth are clear signs of alien technology at work. Curiosity about countries and places that could be portals to other dimensions only increases with this hypothesis. In addition, there is also the issue of sightings of mysterious lights that, according to reports, do not behave like land-based aircraft. They move in unusual patterns, disappearing and reappearing without any logical explanation. For supporters of the extraterrestrial theory, these lights are ships, observing the island and, perhaps, even controlling the events that occur there. Could the island be a secret alien base? Or just a natural anomaly that attracts visitors from other worlds, curious to observe life on Earth? The lack of concrete answers only fuels the fascination with this possibility. While science tries to explain the island's phenomena with conventional theories, those who believe in the alien theory continue to see signs of something much larger and more complex. And so, the question remains, if these are not natural or technological forces, then who or what is really in control of the island? Are we alone in this mystery? Or are we being watched by something far beyond our understanding? Among the most macabre stories surrounding the island are reports of bodies found in bizarre conditions. These were not just victims of the weather or hostile nature, but people who seemed to have succumbed to something much darker. Their bodies, often mutilated in inexplicable ways or found in unusual positions, suggested that their deaths were not simple accidents. These corpses, discovered over the years, only reinforced the idea that the island was a place of death, where unknown forces decided the fate of anyone who dared to defy them. The few researchers who dared to study these bodies spoke of traumas that did not correspond to any known animal or natural phenomenon. There were deep marks, as if the bodies had been attacked by something far beyond human strength. For many, these findings reinforced the theory that the island was alive or inhabited by unknown entities. Curiosity about countries and places where death seemed to constantly hover led researchers from different parts of the world to try to understand what was happening, but always with vague and inconclusive answers. Reports of bizarre deaths were not limited to the island's soil. Some bodies were found in the surrounding waters, floating strangely, with expressions of terror etched on their faces. What could have caused such agony? The hostile nature of the island seemed to be just the surface of a much deeper evil. With each new body found, the questions multiplied, and the answers, when they emerged, were as disturbing as the silence. It was as if death itself had taken up residence on the island, waiting for its next victims. These stories of sinister deaths only added to the terror surrounding the island. Explorers, even the most skeptical ones, were beginning to think twice before risking their lives in search of answers. For those who lost friends or family on these expeditions, the mystery of the island became an endless nightmare. But after all, what, or who, was behind these violent and inexplicable deaths? Is the island protecting something, or simply fulfilling a dark destiny of being the tomb of all who defy it? Amid all the mysteries surrounding the island, one theory has been gaining more and more strength: that there is a conspiracy underway to keep the truth hidden. Believers in this theory suggest that governments, powerful corporations, or even secret organizations are aware of the island's secrets, but choose to keep them out of the public's reach. The reasons for this secrecy can vary, from economic interests to the preservation of world order. But one thing is certain: many believe the truth is being carefully covered up. There are reports of individuals who, when they got too close to the truth, were silenced. Journalists who thoroughly investigated the island's strange occurrences have mysteriously disappeared or been pressured to abandon their investigations. Documents that could shed light on the mystery were deleted or classified as confidential. For those who support this theory, there is no doubt that something much bigger is happening, and those in power are determined to ensure that curiosity about forbidden countries and their lands does not turn into dangerous revelations. Among the boldest theories is the idea that the island harbors a source of power or knowledge that could alter the global balance. Some believe the island hides advanced technologies, perhaps even of extraterrestrial origin, that could revolutionize the way we understand the world. Others suggest the island is a key to energies or resources that governments are desperate to control. Whatever the truth, the consensus among conspiracists is clear: the public is being deliberately kept in the dark. But what exactly don't they want you to know? Could it be the existence of a lost civilization, definitive proof of extraterrestrial life, or something even more surprising? While these questions remain unanswered, the mystery only grows, and the more you try to investigate, the more obstacles arise, as if an invisible hand was always in control, determined to keep the island's secrets untouched. The truth may be closer than we imagine, but are we ready to know it? Despite all the dangers and terrifying reports, the island continues to exert an irresistible fascination on adventurers, scientists, and the curious. The mystery that surrounds it, far from driving people away, seems to attract them even more. It's as if there is something innate in human beings that leads us to seek answers, even when the search itself can be fatal. For many, the idea of uncovering such an ancient and impenetrable secret is a calling that cannot be ignored. Curiosity about exotic countries and their dangerous mysteries is like an invisible force that pushes the brave towards the island. Documentaries, reports, and even films contributed to increasing the fascination with this sinister place. Each new production about the island attracts more people who want to discover the truth for themselves. Some arrive with their hearts full of adrenaline, looking for the next big adventure. Others come driven by the hope of solving the mystery and achieving fame. But the island, with its history of disappearances and tragedies, continues to remind everyone that the world's deepest secrets are not always meant to be discovered. This dangerous allure has claimed the lives of many, but that doesn't stop new adventurers from trying. For every group that disappears, there seems to be a line of others waiting to go in search of the truth. It is as if the island were a magnet that attracts all those who consider themselves immune to fear and failure. Some say it is the very promise of something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary that makes them ignore the obvious dangers and move forward. But how far is someone willing to go in search of answers? For many, the price the island charges is too high, but for others, this is a risk worth taking. The fascination with the island grows with each new story, each new mystery that emerges, leaving a question in the air. Will someone, one day, be able to survive and, finally, reveal the truth about what the island really hides? Over time, the legend of the island that devours its visitors spread throughout the world, fueled by stories of disappearances, mysteries, and conspiracies. The fascination with the unknown was not just limited to local communities. It crossed borders and continents, gaining new details with each retelling. The modern world, with its thirst for unbelievable stories, has embraced the island's mystery as one of humanity's great legends. Books, documentaries, and film productions have helped transform this place into a true icon of mystery and terror. The island, once just a regional curiosity, has become a global phenomenon. Fans of mysteries and conspiracy theories gather in online forums, discussing possible explanations and speculating about the secrets hidden in that piece of land. With each new theory, the legend grows, becoming richer and more complex. Curiosity about countries and their darkest and most intriguing stories continues to attract people seeking to understand the unexplainable. For many, the island is not just a physical location, but a symbol of the unknown and what is beyond our control. With the rise of pop culture, the island has established itself as an ideal setting for horror, science fiction, and adventure tales. Writers and filmmakers explore its mysteries in plots that range from psychological dramas to supernatural stories, further expanding the reach of the legend. With each new work, new elements are added to the story, and the line between reality and fiction becomes increasingly blurred. The legend has grown so much that for many, the island is no longer just a matter of geography, but of modern mythology. This transformation of the island into a global icon has only added to its allure. What began as sailors' stories and local legends is now a cross-generational phenomenon, capturing the imagination of millions. But will we ever get close to the truth with all this publicity? Or will the legend, now larger than life, continue to grow indefinitely, keeping its secrets as inaccessible as they have always been? Over the years, reports from those who returned from the island show a surprising pattern. Regardless of the era, the advancement of technology, or the preparedness of the explorers, the stories about the island remain eerily similar. It is as if each person who was lucky enough, or unlucky enough, to escape was recounting the same experience, like an echo of what their predecessors experienced. This repetition of details reinforces the idea that something truly inexplicable is happening there, something that resists time and understanding. Survivors speak of feelings of disorientation, strange sounds, and the constant feeling of being watched. Even those who try to dismiss these reports as collective hysteria or the effects of fear cannot deny the similarity between the testimonies. The stories are always the same: the treacherous landscape, the unexplained disappearances, the climate that seems to work against intruders. This recurring pattern raises a disturbing question. Does the island have its own way of telling its story through those who try to decipher it? There is also something that unites these testimonies: the feeling of powerlessness in the face of the island. No matter how experienced or well-equipped the explorer is, everyone reports a feeling of facing something much larger and older than anyone could imagine. Curiosity about countries and their mysterious histories often drives adventurers, but in this case, it's as if the island itself rewrites the narrative of each person who dares to challenge it. What makes this pattern so intriguing is the constancy with which these experiences repeat themselves, almost like a cycle. But what does this repetition mean? Is the island shaping the destiny of everyone who enters its territory? Or are these testimonies just reflections of a universal fear that transcends generations? Be that as it may, the fact is that the stories remain, always the same, reinforcing the mystery and solidifying the idea that the island is not just a physical place, but a living enigma which is remade with each new visitor. And if the testimonies are so constant, what else could be waiting for those who dare to challenge it? With so many stories and theories swirling around the island, the search for concrete evidence has become a mission for many. However, the difficulty in finding tangible evidence raises the question: are all these reports the result of extraordinary coincidences? Or is there really something substantial on the island that escapes our understanding? Investigators who have tried to decipher the mystery often come away empty-handed. The evidence seems to disappear, as if the island itself is manipulating reality, keeping its secrets out of reach. The few artifacts and remains brought from the island often end up being inconclusive. Objects found at the site show strange patterns of wear or deterioration that are impossible to explain by conventional science. These artifacts reinforce the belief that the island is much more than a simple piece of land. There is something there that distorts normality, challenging our understanding of time, matter, and logic itself. But these fragments of mystery are never enough to confirm what many already believe: that the island is a place beyond the natural laws we know. Many scientists have attempted to conduct detailed studies, but the island's inhospitable conditions make it nearly impossible to collect sufficient data. Equipment fails, cameras mysteriously go out, and measurements contradict each other. For every attempt to obtain concrete evidence, the island seems to respond with silence, as if it is toying with those trying to decipher it. And so, the line between coincidence and evidence becomes increasingly blurred, leaving more questions than answers. Curiosity about countries and such mysteries continues to grow, but evidence remains scarce. Given all this, the question remains: are these pieces of evidence small windows into the truth, or just coincidences magnified by fear and expectation? The island, with its seemingly insoluble enigmas, continues to challenge the perception of those who try to understand it. And as each new attempt at discovery fails, the mystery only deepens. In the end, could it be possible that some things, like the truth about the island, are destined to remain untouched? After everything that has been said and told about the island, the question that remains is whether we are dealing with a legend exaggerated by time or a dark and incomprehensible reality. The line between myth and fact is increasingly difficult to draw as reports are numerous and evidence is scarce. the island seems to shy away from the truth, creating a fog of uncertainty that few can penetrate. Those who have come close enough to sense the danger speak of something real, a tangible force that defies all logical explanations. But how can we be sure? Science, superstition, conspiracy theories. Each offers a piece of the puzzle, but none can complete it. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between all these elements, a place where the supernatural meets the natural, where human fear is amplified by a reality we do not yet fully understand. Curiosity about mysterious countries and places always leads us to question what lies beyond the visible, and this island is the epitome of that unanswered curiosity. Perhaps, deep down, it is the mystery itself that keeps the legend alive. What we know for sure is that the island is no ordinary place. It not only challenges explorers physically, but also mentally and spiritually. It has become a symbol of the unknown, the unexplored, a reminder that, no matter how much we advance in technology and knowledge, there are still places and forces that resist our understanding. The island, at its core, represents this eternal human quest for the unknown. A quest that may never come to an end, but which continues to fascinate and challenge us. So, at the end of it all, the question remains: legend or reality? Maybe the answer isn't as important as the journey to find it. Perhaps the true mystery of the island is the effect it has on us, how it makes us question, fear, and, most of all, wonder. What do you believe?
Hey explorers, if you love discovering the amazing curiosities and stories we share here on Exploring Nations, how about supporting the channel with just $1? This small gesture can make a big difference and is essential to keep this content going. Without your support, our journey might be cut short. And there's more. When you shop on Amazon, use our special link. It costs you nothing extra, plus you get an exclusive discount and it helps us out a lot. The links for donations and Amazon are pinned in the first comment. Don't let this adventure stop, we're counting on you. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and drop us a comment.